Hello everyone. Today we will learn IP. What is an IP or intellectual property in VLSI design? IP is the logic blocks or circuit layout design. And what is logic blocks means? It represents a hardware, right? Any logic blocks or any circuit layout design, it represents a hardware. The circuit layout design, it represents a hardware at gate level, and this logic blocks, it represents a hardware in RTL level or netlist level, right? So any logic blocks or circuit layout, so this logic blocks can be adder, can be digital logic, can be analog logic, or this layout design also, the circuit layout also, it can be analog, it can be for digital. For example, it can be adder, multiplier register, encoder logic, ADC logic, SPI logic, or I2C logic. It can be any logic, any digital logic or any analog logic, okay? Or circuit layout which are reusable. This one we have to remember, all the IPs are reusable. I will explain this one, okay? And this logic block and this circuit layout design, it describe and implement the functionality of the hardware. That is what I explained here. All these logic blocks and circuit layout design, this represents a hardware inside the FPGA or ASIC. So any logic blocks or any circuit layout design which are reusable and which describe and implement the functionality of a hardware within the FPGA or ASIC is called IP or intellectual property. Okay, it can be analog or it can be digital. Okay, and what we have to remember here is the IPs are not physical chip. Okay, these are not physical hardware. These are just a piece of hardware, a piece of logic, we can say. Not piece of hardware means not this physical hardware, okay? Piece of logic or piece of circuit layout design which represents a hardware, but it is not actual chip, okay? And what is this reusable concept means? Reusability is, let's say you want to design a SPI controller, okay? So you need a SPI controller for your design, okay? So what you can do? You want the SPI controller, then what you can do? You either design it of your own, or you get it from somewhere. Let's say already this SPI controller has been designed by someone. So the design is already present in the market. So this design exists. So you get that design directly from that individual or that company, that SPI controller. So here no need to design this part, this already existed part, no need to design. So directly we can buy or we can get it from somewhere or someone. So here we are also, see, if we design this SPI controller, then definitely it will take time. But if I get it from somewhere means already the design part, if I get it, then it also takes me less time for other activity, okay? It also reduce the risk because already the design, already tested, it is already optimized, maybe it is optimized also, so it is also pre-characterized. So definitely the risk is very less here. So but what extra we are doing here? We are just spending some extra budget, okay? We are paying the money and we are getting what we want, the design which has been designed by someone, right? And we are reducing our time and we are using the design which has been designed by someone in our design, okay? So this is called reusability. So if something is some logic blocks is present, or a code is available for a design, then no need to write the code and no need to design that blocks. Instead of designing that one from the scratch, it is better to get it or procure it from somewhere, okay? That is called reusability, because already design part is being used by different person, okay? So that concept is called reusability. It is reused, same design is reused again and again, okay? So all the IPs are reusable, and these IP are the building blocks of all the ASIC and FPGA. So inside ASIC or FPGA, we find all these IP. See why it is called intellectual property? Because This is, see, it is the intellectual property of one party, because it is owned by someone. This is the property of one individual. Okay, because it is designed by someone and it is owned by someone, so that is the property. Now because it is designed by someone, so that is the property of that part, is the property of someone, but it can be licensed to another party. Even though someone owns that particular property, they can give the license for that one to use that one. Okay, so what are the examples of IP? It can be some ARM based CPU, some GPU, it can be USB IP, I2C, DMA, SPI controller, UART, multiplier, Ethernet controller, PCI interface, power modules, memory controller, audio driver, video controller, graphics, analog IP. See, digital IP, we have both analog IP and digital IP. All these are digital IP. We can have also analog IP like ADC, DAC, PLL, DLL. Okay, so a IP can be either analog or it can be digital or mixed signal, we can say. Okay, normally IP are available in three form. One is soft core, one is firm core, and another is hard core. Okay, so what is this soft core? Soft core IPs are normally delivered. It is delivered as synthesizable logic written in Verilog or VHDL. So these are RTL level logic blocks. These IP are, because all the IP are logic blocks, right? Or this layout circuit. So this soft core IP are delivered as synthesizable logic written in Verilog or VHDL code. So when someone wants the soft core, then code will be provided. So either it will be delivered as code, Verilog or VHDL code, or netlist. So it will be available as netlist, or it is written in Verilog or VHDL code. And what is a netlist? Netlist is nothing but it is the interconnection of logic gates. Okay, inside the netlist, logic gates will be there and their interconnection will be there. Okay, so in soft IP, source codes are available. So if someone wants to get the soft IP, then the IP vendors for the soft core IP, they will provide you the source code. Okay, but these soft IPs are not optimized. That we have to remember. These soft IPs are not optimized for a target architecture. As it is not optimized, so it provides low performance and less efficient in terms of resource utilization. Okay, so this is the disadvantage, because as it is not optimized one, so it provides the performance is very less and it is also less efficient in terms of resource utilization. But one of the advantage of soft core IP is flexibility. More flexibility is there. Okay, the soft core IPs provide more flexibility than firm core IP and hard core IP. So what, suppose someone bought this soft core IP. Bought soft core IP means they got the source code. Okay, they got the source code. Then what they will do? Now they got the code from the IP vendors. Then they will do synthesis. Then they will do physical implementation. So why this flexibility here? Why the more flexibility? Because we have the source code now. They have the source code now. So now they can do the synthesis part. They can do the physical implementation, and they can modify. They can change the design at functional level. So because of this reason, because they have the flexibility to modify the design, that's why the soft core provides more flexibility than other IPs like firm and hard IPs. Okay, but here what happens, the vendors own support at this level. For example, the IP vendor will provide the source code and they will provide all the support. But if you change this source code, then in the later stage the IP vendors, they won't provide any kind of support. If you need any kind of support with the original code that is provided by the IP vendors, then they will provide the support. But if the source code is changed by the one who bought this one, then the IP vendors is not going to support. Okay, that we have to remember. The next one is the firm IP. And what is firm IP? Firm IPs are delivered as HDL implementation. See, soft IP also delivered as HDL implementation. Either they will provide the HDL implementation, the RTL code, the Verilog or VHDL code, or provide the netlist, and it is not optimized one. But in case of firm IP, what happens? It will be delivered as HDL implementation. Means same again they will provide either Verilog or VHDL code or netlist they will provide. But this time it is more optimized one. In soft IPs are not optimized, but this firm IPs are optimized. Okay, let me, I forgot to see here, this IP, soft core IP can be some ARM core, it can be some DRAM controller IP or some bus controller IP or Ethernet controller IP. So there are different type of variety of hundreds, different variety of soft core IPs are available in the market, okay. And firm core IP, this is, it is delivered as HDL implementation, means either Verilog or VHDL code, or either they will provide the netlist, but this time it is more optimized one. Okay, and it is normally these firm core IPs are targeted for a specific architecture and the specific device. Okay, and it is normally optimized for this firm core IP are normally optimized for FPGA. And where you will find this firm core IP? So this is the example of firm core IP where you will find this Altera. The Altera FPGA Neos 2 is the firm core IP. Xilinx Microblaze processor. Inside the Xilinx FPGA, you will find a processor, and it is called Microblaze processor. And that Microblaze processor is a virtual processor. It is not a physical IP. Okay, it is not a physical IC. It is not a physical one. It is just a virtual processor. So virtual processor is available. That is, you can say this RTL code. Inside the FPGA there is a firm core IP, and inside the Xilinx FPGA, and the name of that one is Microblaze processor. Okay. So firm core IP is more optimized than soft core IP, but here it is less flexibility. It provides the less flexibility. And third one is the hard core IP. Here what the IP vendors provide? Here the IP vendors provide the gate level or transistor level physical description. So here they will provide the gate level or transistor level physical description, means they will provide you the layout part. Either they will provide you the layout part or they will provide the GDS2 data. GDS2 data means actually it is the end of the VLSI design cycle. GDS2 data is the end of the VLSI design cycle, and the GDS2 data is used in fab. Directly you can take the GDS2 data and you can give it to any fab, and they will design your IC, they will fabricate your IC. So hardcore IP, if someone wants to buy the hardcore IP, then the IP vendors will provide gate level or transistor level layout design part, layout they will provide. So directly that layout can be included. If someone bought this one, then directly they can include the layout or this physical description at the physical design stage. Okay, that means no need to do the synthesis part. In soft core IP, what we saw here, once the code you got from the IP vendors, then we are doing synthesis, then physical implementation, all these things we are doing here. Okay, but in case of hardcore IP, we are not doing anything, because already we are getting the physical implementation part. So directly we can include that design into physical implementation. Okay, so we have to remember the GDS2 data. The GDS2 actually is used in fab. Okay, so here in case of hard IP, it doesn't reveal any source code. They don't provide any kind of source code. So here flexibility will be very, very less. And I will describe this one. Okay, what is the meaning of this flexibility here in hardcore IP? Okay, so generally this analog IP and digital and mixed signal logic are hard cores. Okay, so when someone wants to buy this analog IP or this digital or mixed signal IP, then normally it is available in this hard IP format and are provided to chip makers in transistor layout format. So when someone wants to buy analog or digital or mixed signal logic, then the IP vendors will provide them in layout format like GDS2 data, or either they will provide the GDS2 data. So no need to do any kind of modification here. So as transistor level informations are provided by the IP vendors, so there will be less flexibility here. Okay, because we cannot do any kind of modification. So lowest flexibility we get for this hard IP. Edge transistor edge transistor layout are designed with a specific foundry processor. Okay, all the here that they provide that this IP vendor, in case of hardcore IP, they provide the data in transistor level, right? Transistor layout they provide, and all the transistor layout are designed actually. So whatever the transistor layout the IP vendors provide, all these are designed with a specific foundry process. Foundry process means the design can be for 28 nanometer, 32 nanometer, 10 nanometer, or 7 nanometer, or some 32 some 12 nanometer. Okay, so these are the foundry process. Means the foundry process, they use this technology and design the transistor layout. Their transistor layout is provided by the IP vendors. So this is, let's say this is used in TSMC. Okay, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. So what is the problem here? The issue will be portability. Portability will be an issue with different foundry process, IBM. Let's say one IP vendor got this hardcore IP. So they will provide, the IP vendor will provide this this transistor level physical description. Let's say this physical description, whatever the company got, let's say it is compatible with this 28 nanometer technology designed by the TSMC. And now all the design, all the rest of the design is from IBM. Then definitely there will be a portability issue here, because there is a mismatch here. There is a foundry process mismatch will be there here. So this is the problem with hardcore IP. There will be a portability issue here because of the different foundry process. Okay, but here what happens? Possibility is there that the one who procured the IP, this hardcore IP, will be forced to this process. Even different one is more suitable for the rest of the chip. So there will be a portability issue. Okay. So but this hardcore IP, it provides highest performance because it is optimized one. It is optimized one for a particular architecture or for a particular foundry process. So it provides highest performance, and it is because it is fully optimized. It is fully optimized in terms of area, time, or we can say this power. So it provides highest performance, but it provides the less flexibility among all the IP. Okay. And reduced risk. Reduced risk means as it is optimized one and it is designed, pre-tested, pre-characterized by foundry, some particular foundry. So it is less risk is there, less risk to use this hardcore IP. Okay. And what are the examples of this hardcore IPs? ARM core can be hardcore IP. They provide the hardcore IP. Then Xilinx, the Xilinx Vertex 2 Pro FPGA is hardcore IP. Then this Vertex 4 is hardcore IP. Then inside the Xilinx there is a processor called PowerPC. It is designed by the IBM. This PowerPC is designed by the IBM. That is hardcore IP. Then USB interface can be hardcore IP. Hardcore IP means that will be available in layout format or GDS to data format. Okay, then HDMI interface, PCI, DDR interface, then some analog like ADC, DAC, PLL, DLL, all these can be available in hardware IP. Okay, hardware IP format. Sorry, this hard IP format. Let's understand this IP business, how it works. IP business. See, all this IP means the logic blocks or the transistor layout format. All these IP are designed and targeted for different application like mobile application, networking application, security application, or automotive or IoT application. So these are targeted for different application. So these IP vendors sell either the IP core. IP core means here either it is soft core, firm core, or hard core. Either the IP vendor will sell the IP core or they will sell the architecture part. For example, ARM. The ARM company provides both the IP core and the architecture. Okay. Even CPU IP cores are available. CPU, I will explain what is CPU, this IP core. Okay. So how the licensing is done here? Because if someone wants to buy the IP from one IP vendor, then how the licensing part is done? They have to give the license, right, for using someone's IP. So licensing is done in two ways. The first one is licensing IP. So the IP vendors provide the license for their IP. So when someone get this IP license, see, this is the licensing IP. Okay. Then another licensing also there. One is architectural license. In the licensing IP, what happens? The IP vendors, they provide fully designed or and fully verified RTL code of a logic. So if someone wants to buy a logic or a piece of logic which represents a piece of hardware, then what is included here? This a licensing IP. The IP vendors will provide. They will provide a designed and pre-verified RTL code. They will provide here. They will provide either RTL code, or we can say this netlist also they may provide netlist. Okay. And according to the customer specification, they will provide either RTL code or netlist they will provide. Okay. This is then modified. Then once this RTL code or netlist that is provided by the IP vendors, someone bought that license, then that is modified as per the requirement. So as per the requirement, the company or the one who bought that one, they will modify that one and they will optimize that one. Optimize, then they will design the layout for that one. Then they will send the layout and the GDS2 file to the fab, and they will fabricate the IC. At the end they will get the physical IC they will get. Okay. So here they also provide the RTL level design of processor. Here I mentioned one thing, right? Even CPU IP core also available. Not only all these IPs. So here I explained what are the IP possible IP. These are the possible IP. There are different type of IPs are there. Okay, for all these application, these are IP. Okay, but even company also provide RTL design, RTL for the processor. So what is this one? This RTL level design of processor means this IP. If someone get the IP for this processor, some processor, then what is inside this IP? This IP tells how logic gates are wired together. This is, see, IPs are not physical, right? These are just a piece of logic. Okay, so this RTL code, it represents the processor hardware with some logic gates and their interconnection, and they produce these logic gates, they produce the processor. For example, it is provided by the ARM. So ARM provide license for this IP core, RTL level IP core, for designing the processor where the logic gates are there. Logic gates are wired together. Okay, so it is provided by the ARM. Another example is this Samsung Exynos. You know the Samsung Exynos this CPU, this SoC, right? So they also use ARM Cortex series CPU. So this ARM Cortex, this is ARM, okay, company. They have a CPU series named Cortex. Okay, and that is used by the Samsung. ARM will provide IP license to use its CPU. So they will provide the IP license for their CPU. They have they provide this IP license to use their CPU. They also, see, ARM sell both CPU and GPU. If you remember this Mali GPU, it is inside the mobile phone. In many mobile phone you will find this Mali GPU, and that is owned by this ARM. So ARM provide IP license for CPU, GPU and other things also. Okay, here the Samsung cannot change the design. Samsung cannot change the design, but they can optimize. They can little bit, they can modify for the optimization for better frequency and power output. They can change or they can optimize. They can optimize with little modification, but they cannot change the design part, which is what they got from this ARM. Okay, that is written inside the license that you cannot change the design. Okay, here Apple and Samsung do their own physical implementation. They are doing their physical implementation means definitely they are getting, for example, they are getting here the IP core. So they are getting here the IP license for the CPU. So they get the RTL code. After getting the RTL code from ARM, the Apple and Samsung, what they will do? They will do the physical implementation of their own. Okay. See, ARM also provides the optimized processor design. Not only they provide RTL code design, ARM not only provide the RTL code design, they also provide the optimized processor design. For example, gate level netlist. So they provide a optimized processor design, 28 nanometer. It is an example, okay. So 28 nanometer technology at TSMC. For example, Cortex. They are the Samsung Cortex series A12. The name is A12, Cortex A12. if someone wants to buy that one, then that is designed at TSMC. The technology is 28 nanometer and they provide that processor. If someone wants to buy that one, then they can get it from the ARM. Okay, so they will provide the gate level description. Here they are not going to provide the RTL level description, but they will provide here the gate level description. And what the customer can do directly, then customers can directly manufacture at a foundry. See, this gate level are nothing but this transistor level description, right? So once they will obtain the this license, the IP license from the ARM, then directly they can manufacture at a foundry. So this is bought when customers have no facility. See here what I explained here, Apple and Samsung do their physical implementation. Physical implementation means they have the facility for the physical implementation. Apple and Samsung, they get the RTL level design, then they do the physical implementation because they have the facility. And if someone doesn't have the facility, then what they will do? Then they cannot get the RTL design, because once you get the RTL design, you should have the facility, in-house facility for the physical implementation part, or the someone should be able to design the layout for this RTL. Okay, so Apple and Samsung they have, but if someone doesn't have, if customers they have no facility for this optimization and the extra budget. See, Samsung and Apple, they are very big company. They have budget, they have facility. That's why they get the RTL code and they do the physical implementation in-house. But if some customers they do not have any facility for this physical implementation for the optimization, and if they do not have any extra budget, then directly they can get this optimized processor design. Okay, gate level netlist they can obtain from the ARM and directly they can manufacture it at foundry. Okay, so these are the IP. These are the IP, CPU IP from this ARM. This Cortex F, these are the number I have given. Okay, these are the IP core provided by CPU, for the CPU by the ARM company. And this is also GPU. It is provided by the ARM. So ARM Mali is provided by ARM Mali is from this ARM company, GPU. Then Qualcomm provides a GPU called Adreno. Okay, so this GPU. Then that what is the meaning of this one is, what are the IP available? IP are available for the CPU. These are some examples. IPs are available for GPU. These are the examples. For example, ARM Mali, Qualcomm, this Adreno. Then IPs are available for the interconnect, bus interconnection like AXB, AHB, CCI. Then ARMs are available for peripheral controller like UART, I2C, SPI, RTC, RS232. Then IPs are available for analog IP like ADC, DAC, PLL, DLL. Some security IPs are available. Memories controller IPs are available, and different IPs are available. Okay, many IP vendors are there globally. They sell IP. They design the IP, they make the IP, they sell IP and make money. For example, these are the IP vendors: Intel, Nvidia, IBM, Apple, Samsung, Texas, Broadcom. All these are, there are many more vendors are there. They sell the IP, they design the IP, they sell the IP and they make money. Okay. The second type of this license is architectural license. The first one is licensing IP. They were providing the license for the IP. Then this is architectural license. What is architectural license is, customer receives, here what happens, the customers receives the right to design their hardware implementation based on a set of specifications. See, what is the architecture? See, in order to understand any computer architecture, these three things are essential. The first thing is learn its language. In order to understand any computer architecture, we have to learn the language. Language is nothing but instruction set, or the set of instruction. And what are these instructions? Instructions can be addition, subtraction, jump, divide. Okay, and the second one is we have to know what are the registers. Okay, and third one is how is the memory organization. So why this is required, this one? Okay, this one we understood. This language means instruction, that addition, subtraction, jump, divide, all these instruction we have to know. And this registers and memory organization means, see, any architecture is not only defined by the instruction set or the language, but also defined by another thing is operand location. And operand location can be registers and memory, right? So this operands, it may come from the registers, or it may come from the memory or the instruction itself. And this is the reason we have to know that what are the registers and how the memory is organized for a particular architecture. Okay, see, any architecture defines what the instruction do. Architecture is defined by what the instruction will do and how the registers and memory are accessed for data reading and writing. But the architecture will never tell when the instruction are executed. The architecture will tell what this instruct. For example, add means it will do addition, subtract means it will do subtraction, it will do jump, it will do divide. This is the instruction, right? But it will never tell when they are executed, when this addition will be executed, subtraction will be executed, jump will be executed. It will never say. Okay, and it will never tell anything about the implementation part. It will only give the information about what the instruction will do and how the registers and memory are accessed for reading and writing, but it will never tell anything about the execution of all these instructions and how it is implemented. So the implementation will be decided by the customers. Okay, how this instruction, how this addition, subtraction, jump, divide, all these instruction will be implemented by the customers as per their requirement. How the customers is going to implement that one, that depends on this customer's requirement. Okay, see, for example, here this MIPS is a 32-bit architecture. Okay, this 32-bit architecture, this MIPS architecture, it operates on 32-bit data, and it has 32 general purpose registers. So what this is giving us information, the information it is giving us is 32-bit data means definitely this language, the language for this MIPS 32-bit architecture, it supports 32-bit data length. Here data length is 32-bit, means all the instruction they support 32-bit operands, that means, and it has 32 general purpose register for different purposes. Okay, this is the information this architecture is giving. This is what I explained here. Okay, it tells about this language part, means the instruction part, the length of the operand, then how many registers are there. Okay, and this MIPS has a byte addressable memory with 32-bit long. Okay, and this accessing this memory and the registers for data reading and writing also affects the speed of the operation, that we have to remember, and also it and also gives the information about the data capacity. Okay, so the basic is to understand any architecture we have to learn its language and we have to know the registers and the memory organization. Okay, and the architecture doesn't reveal anything about the underlying hardware implementation. How the architecture is going to be implemented with some hardware, the architecture never tells anything about this one. Okay, it doesn't define any underlying hardware implementation. A single architecture can have many hardware implementation. For example, this is one architecture, ARM. Okay, the single architecture can have different hardware implementation, but all they run same program. For example, this ARM7, let's say this is ARM7 architecture. Okay, ARM7 architecture has got one special language. Definitely there will be some language for this one. Okay, so it will run the same program. Whoever buy this license for this ARM7 architecture, they will all run the same program. That is meant for this ARM7 architecture. But the hardware implementation can be different. Okay, it depends on the customer requirement, what they want from the architecture. Okay, so any architecture, they may run the same program, but they will have different hardware implementation. So definitely there will be trade-off, because here even though they are running same program, but they are having they are implementing different hardware, so there will be trade-off for performance wise, price wise, and power wise. That we have to remember. Okay, so now what is architectural license here? Here the customer receives the right to design their hardware. Okay, they design their hardware implementation based on some set of specifications. Some set of specification means it is nothing but it is the architecture. So they get the architecture or they get the license to use architecture and they design their hardware. ARM provides license to use ARM own processor architecture so others can use it in their products. So they buy the architecture from the ARM, say one example is ARM, and they design their product. Okay, and along with other component like memory, then some interfaces, then radio, all these components also they integrate all these components with ARM architecture. They design their products. Okay, so ARM provides license to use. See, ARM has the 32-bit architecture also, and it also provides 64-bit architecture. Okay, and these are the different architecture. Okay, ARM 5. So these are meant for different applications. Okay, means all these architectures are targeted for different application. ARM one architecture is ARM 5, the ARM version 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All these are different ARM architecture. Okay, for example, ARM 7 uses von Neumann architecture and ARM 9 uses Harvard architecture. Okay, so what customers will do as per their requirement, they buy it. They will buy whether 5, 6, 7, again it depends on their requirement, and then they design their own processor. They buy the architecture from the ARM because this architecture are owned by ARM company. Okay, they buy it, then they design their own processor as per their requirement, or either they will design processor or they will build their own SoC. Okay, that uses ARM core along with other components. Okay, so these are the company: Apple, Qualcomm, Nvidia, Samsung. They all get license from this ARM to use ARM architecture. Okay, in their product. And for example, this is one example is Qualcomm's Cryo CPU. The name of the CPU is Cryo. That belongs to Qualcomm's, and that is used in Snapdragon SoC. Okay, and that uses this Cryo CPU. It uses ARM architecture. Okay. Another important thing is see, either what ARM will do. ARM will either provide the architecture, its architecture designed by the ARM. It's ARM, right? It will provide the ARM architecture. Then what the company will, the customers will do, they will get it from the ARM and they will build their own processor, right? This is one thing. And the second thing is this ARM architecture belongs to ARM, right? So what ARM will do, it uses its own architecture. The ARM company will use its own architecture, then they will build. Here the customers are getting the license and they are building their own processor. But in this case, ARM will use its own architecture. They will build CPU IP. They will build the IP core. IP core means here the CPU IP, and they will give license. So they provide two type of license. Either directly they will give this architectural license, or they will build IP, the CPU IP, which uses ARM architecture, and they will provide the this license. Okay, and either they will provide a soft IP or they will provide the hard IP. Okay, so when they will build the CPU, this IP core for their for processor, either it will be soft IP or it will be hard IP. This is one example, Cortex CPU. This is one this IP core. If someone wants to get the license for this Cortex CPU, then it is IP based. Okay, this is directly IP based. They can directly get it from ARM. And another is Mali GPU. This is this GPU, Mali GPU, is owned by and designed by ARM. Okay, and some other IPs are also provided by ARM company. Okay, ARM company. Okay, so this was all about this architectural license. This ARM architecture is based on this RISC, okay, reduced instruction set computer, and this Intel uses CISC architecture for their this 86. Okay, and then company designs core. This Intel and the company designs core that implements ARM architecture. Already I have mentioned here. Okay, these are the company that use ARM architecture: Apple, Qualcomm, Nvidia, Samsung. Okay. the license buyer can be fabless. So the one who is buying the license, they do not, either they have their own fab, either they have their own fab, or they do not have their own fab. Okay, for example, Intel has its own fabrication lab. Okay, it builds its own architecture, then design them, use that architecture, design them into the chip for various market, and manufacture the design, then manufacture that design at its own foundries. So Intel has its own foundry, they use their architecture and they sell it to other people. They don't give this architectural license. Okay, Intel doesn't give architectural license to anyone. Apple A9 SoC, the SoC that is Apple A9, it uses ARM 64-bit ARM architecture, and then build it. The ARM doesn't have fab. Okay, ARM doesn't have its own fab, ARM. So they get the license from the ARM 64-bit this 64-bit ARM license, then they build its core, they build its processor at TSMC or Samsung. So Apple uses either TSMC or Samsung to design its processor, and that processor license is from ARM architecture. So ARM doesn't design or sell processor. They doesn't design, sell or processor. They just sell the IP for the sell IP. They sell the IP for the processor. They don't design, they don't sell processor. That we have to remember. They don't sell processor, rather they sell the IP for the processor. Okay. Already I explained this one. Snapdragon is a SoC and not a processor. Qualcomm sells where many components are in. So Qualcomm, they have designed the SoC named Snapdragon, and this SoC also integrates GPU, modem, DSP. Okay, then and it uses the ARM architecture based CPU core. So they are the Snapdragon, that is from Qualcomm. The Qualcomm uses ARM architecture, and it has designed its CPU core, and it integrates other components like GPU, modem, DSP, and they sell it to other people. Okay. Snapdragon used by Samsung. We also know that the Samsung also uses Snapdragon SoC, right? But Samsung own processor is Exynos. Okay, but sometimes Samsung also uses that SoC belongs to other company, like this Snapdragon belongs to this Qualcomm. Okay, and the licensing amount. So how much they pay? Licensing amount depends on the complexity of the IP, then cost of development, then the target application, then expected volume. Expected volume means how many number of IP someone is going to IC someone is going to design. Okay, IC, not IP, IC circuit someone going to design. Okay, then once products using the IP starts shipping IP vendor, then so once products using the IP, the product that uses the IP, once that is designed, that means that is once fabricated into a chip, and once that shipping is done, shipping of IP is done, then the IP vendors also get royalties for every chip. The IP vendors get, suppose for example this is a Qualcomm design the ARM processor. So once Qualcomm fabricate the its chip which uses ARM IP, then once it fabricates it starts shipping this chip, then ARM will get the royalty for each chip. Okay, that is there in the license. Okay, so these are ARM, Intel, Nvidia. They make money by selling chip or give license. They either sell chip and make money, or chip means this is hardware. Okay, or they give license to someone, then customer build chip and sell it and they earn money. Okay, this is one example actually. For example, Qualcomm has designed this SoC called Snapdragon. Okay, but Qualcomm, they do not have any fab. They don't have any fab. Then Samsung its own processor is Exynos, but they also use Snapdragon, which is from Qualcomm. But Samsung has their own fab. Okay, Samsung owns a fab. Apple, they do not have any fab. Okay, so what Qualcomm and Apple, they do not have fab. but they have their own processor, they have designed their own processor, so they use fab of others like they use IBM, TSMC, Samsung fab for designing their core. Okay, and all these Qualcomm, Samsung, Apple, they use ARM architectural license, or they use IP license. So this is example of this is one diagram of SoC. This is SoC. So on the SoC we will find everything. Here processor will be there, then different IP will be there, analog IP, digital IP. See here this Ethernet, SPI, ADC, then here you will find PLL, RTC will be there. So different CAN, USB, PWMC. So these are ASIC, we can say these are ASIC. And inside the ASIC it is nothing but IPs are there. So we can say virtually, we can say these are all IP. These are different type of IP, analog IP or digital IP. Okay, on the top of this SoC. So this is also another block diagram. For example, see this is the SoC core. This is the processor. This is the processor part. Okay, then these are some of the IP like flash memory, SDRAM controller, SDRAM memory, SRAM, LCD. These are all IP. IP can be used for all these things. Okay, so these are IP. Okay. So this is all about IP and how the IP licensing is done, and different type of IP I explained. Okay,